Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Why should our OP have to give up his side of the driveway for the neighbor's convenience? Why can't they park on the street if it's a hassle for them to maneuver their cars around his? Here we go. I'm not sharing my driveway with my neighbors. At the beginning of this month, my hubby and I moved into a new rental home. We love the house, save for one drawback. The driveway is a shared driveway with our neighbors to the right, but we figure no big deal, we just stay on our own respective sides. Upon move-in, they were polite and came over and introduced themselves. They're our age, 3 roommates, and seem super friendly. They said that the house had been empty for a moment and they were happy to have new neighbors. They have 3 cars, we have 2. For the past 2 weeks, we've parked our cars on our side of the driveway, one in front of the other. They've done the same on their side. Last night, neighbors come home from their respective jobs and approach us. My husband and I were sitting on our porch chatting. They told us that in the past, the previous tenants of our home would park on the street, giving them full access to the driveway, and asked that we do the same. They all leave for their respective jobs at different times every morning, and they hate having to shuffle cars around. I work an 8 to 5, so my schedule's set, and my car is always parked in front of our second car. Additionally, it's important to note my husband is a stay-at-home father, so our second car sits most days, and their argument is that it's just in the way. However, the second car is also the car with the car seat for our infant child, and if they ever needed to leave, I don't like the idea of him having to load up from the street. We had a car demolished recently because a texting driver was speeding and not paying attention and drove straight into our street-parked car. I told them I'm not comfortable with having to park for their convenience. It's my driveway, and I shouldn't have to compromise just because the previous tenants did. Their argument is that we have one car that could sit on the street just as easily as it sits in the driveway, and that my car could also be street parked because I leave after them and get home before them, making their parking more difficult. Edit. I guess I should clarify their arguments on that point. A, they claim they have newer cars, but so do we. B, the way that our street is set up, they don't have as much street space in front of their house. We can fit 2 cars in front of our house, but they could fit 1 tops, leaving them to have to park in front of someone else's house. I'm so sorry for not being clearer about these points. And our second story. Pay your workers less so I don't have to pay more. Background info. I work for a luxury florist shop in the U.S., and our flower prices are not cheap. We have a high minimum dollar amount for delivery. Most local florists have a minimum plus delivery fee. Our fees have stayed the same since the pandemic, but we've upped most of our arrangements by $5 to $10 to help cover some losses. Our prices are high, but we specialize in very full and/or large arrangements to make up for it. This is a conversation I had with an entitled woman. Me. Just letting you know, all our arrangements start at $75. The total after tax and delivery for the product you've chosen comes up to about $105. Karen. What? That's ridiculous. You charge that much? Me. Yes. Would you like to proceed? Karen. That's crazy. Why? Me. The owners felt this was the best way to ensure great quality products and a fair living wage for our employees, especially during these times. Karen. Well, we've all got issues going on right now. That's not an excuse. Some of us are unemployed. You should not be increasing the prices at our expense. You should internally have a meeting and take the wages out of the owners and employees so we don't have to pay so much for your ridiculously expensive flowers. You can't do this at the customer's expense. Tell the owners. Me. Ma'am, it seems like we may not be the right fit for you and are unable to give you the experience you deserve. Would you like me to refer you to another florist? Karen. No. Let's just finish this order, but you've lost me as a future customer. Me, thinking, oh no. Me, actually, thank you for your purchase, and we're sorry to lose you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, Karen, if you're unemployed and struggling, why are you buying flowers? And our next story. If you don't like it, then leave. Don't mind if I do. Don't mind if we all do. I worked as a housekeeper at a small local hotel. At the beginning when I started, about 3 years ago, things were pretty peachy. I got above minimum wage and worked in an environment with a more relaxed working pace. We had more time than your average hotel to clean rooms, and it showed in customer satisfaction. We had stellar reviews, with customers raving about how there wasn't a speck of dust anywhere, how everything from the lampshades to the bathroom drain was always scrubbed squeaky clean. I love my job, and I took pride in it. And when we had extra time, which did happen from time to time, we'd do some deeper cleaning, like scrubbing all the walls inch by inch, disinfecting the whole bathroom, cleaning the blinds, etc. Even though we all had some extra time, we used it to make sure the rooms were always up to a very high standard. As a result of this, we got a reputation of being an affordable but very clean hotel. So our popularity spiked. Even before we got popular, in our prime we were booked full about 90% of the days. Our boss made a pretty nice amount of money. We don't have reception, we're self-service. You just get a passcode for your room via text message, so he saved money with that. He drives an expensive car and seems very well off. We were never struggling financially. Then things started changing. We're a very close-knit team of cleaners and have been in the house for years. A couple of us left at the end of last year, one moved to another state, another became a housewife after having a kid, and we started expecting newcomers to our team. They never came. Our boss claimed that it's hard to find workers for this kind of job. We never had anyone interviewed, and I never saw ads anywhere that we were hiring, so I'm not sure he was even planning on replacing them. So our work pace got tighter. We managed somehow, but there was no longer time for thorough cleaning. Then the boss opened a restaurant so that the guests could have breakfast. Cleaning it daily got added to our workload, and that place is massive. It takes an hour and a half to clean daily. At the same time, he also opened a separate Airbnb-style apartment, 3 bedrooms, kitchen, living room, and bathroom for larger groups who wanted to reside together. Cleaning that fell on us as well. So suddenly, we were down to 2 people. There were 7 of us initially and shoved 2 massive new responsibilities. We asked our boss again to hire more people, but he said no, and that we've been having it too easy beforehand. He also refused to add another hour or 2 to our daily working hours, currently 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We have 6 hours, and everything needs to be done at 3 p.m. sharp because that's when the new passcodes start working. Understandably, we were stressed out. There was suddenly far too much to do, and our boss also simultaneously expected that we would keep up our usual cleaning standard. But when our time per room plummets from 45 minutes to 25 minutes tops, usually closer to 15, obviously we were not able to clean everything the way we did before. We'd get yelled at when we got bad feedback because there wasn't enough time to clean thoroughly enough. Customers who came in after our clean rooms were disappointed and took their business elsewhere. Also, my coworkers started calling in sick because they were burnt out. It was a mess, but our boss maintained the outlook that if he just pushed a massive amount of work on us, we'd somehow magically find an extra pair of hands and get everything done 100%. Last week, we had a meeting with my coworkers. We discussed the current situation, and to my surprise, everyone was considering quitting. Out of loyalty to our longtime employer, the 5 of us agreed to have a meeting with our boss and try to persuade him to hire more staff to bring the hotel back to its earlier standard. A couple of days later, we had the said meeting. Our boss was still in denial and said that we just need to up our pace and do things faster. He cited that most hotels give housekeepers about 20 minutes to do everything. We pointed out that it's true, but in that case, he can't expect us to clean better than those hotels. He scoffed and told us, "If you don't like working here, then leave." That was all we needed to hear. That night, we had another meeting amongst us cleaners. We checked our contracts and realized there was no agreed-on notice for resignation as we're at will. So we were all going to take his advice. This morning at 9 a.m. sharp, the 5 of us paid our boss a visit. The look on his face when we simultaneously slammed down our resignation letters and marched out, leaving no one to clean the whole hotel today, will warm my heart for the rest of my days. He was absolutely stunned. He tried to call us to talk things over. Nuh-uh. We just did what you told us to. Have fun replacing what was a motivated, loyal, and dedicated team of cleaners who made your business boom. And our last story. Bought out my uncle's 50% share on my beach house, and thus denying my cousins their vacation home. When my grandpa passed 20 years ago, he left 2 houses to his kids, my mother and my uncle. My grandpa didn't make a will, so they both had 50% share in each and were both entitled to using the houses in the same way. One of these houses is a pretty huge beach house that my cousins, my uncle's kids, and I spend our summers in, and is the crown jewel of the inheritance. My uncle had gotten divorced during that time too, 20 years ago, and that divorce left him in debt. My mother tried to help him settle the debt at the time, but we weren't too comfortable financially either, so she couldn't. As a result, the debt piled on and kept increasing. It wasn't pretty for my uncle, and he probably fell into a pretty severe depression. I'm only saying probably because it's undiagnosed. Divorced, in debt, and soon after, my cousin, stopped talking to him. He was a broken man and sort of withdrew from all of us entirely. The situation remained unchanged for the next 8 to 10 years, at which point he started to slowly improve. He was still massively in debt and was paying it incrementally, but he started talking with his kids again. He wanted nothing to do with the beach house, however, since he only had bad memories of it. That, of course, didn't stop my cousins from using it as a vacation home. 50% was their father's, after all. So from that point on, my cousins and I all shared that house for our summer vacations, generally without much problem. It really is huge. Now, I don't mean to brag, but I've done quite all right for myself. Not all of it was through merit and skill, as I was fortunate enough to marry into a very wealthy family, out of love, not for the money. My uncle was still in debt, of course, so I offered to buy his share of the beach house, but only if it was enough to settle his debt. As I said, he wanted nothing to do with it, so he was more than happy to sell. We consulted a few real estate agents to get a feel for the market value of the house, and we found out that the whole thing would sell for 300% of my uncle's standing debt. So half was 150% of his debt. He sold it to me and my wife for $130,000. So now 50% of the beach house belongs to my mother, who was okay with us buying and helping out her brother, and 50% to me. My cousins are absolutely furious. They were against the sale from the start and urged their father not to sell, but he was eager to get out of debt, and the house meant nothing to him either way. So now they focus their anger onto me and are saying I took advantage of my bankrupt uncle and cheated them out of the inheritance. I never really liked my cousins, so I've told them to go F themselves, because I bought it at fair market price, and if I was really taking advantage of their uncle, then I'd have just bought it at 100% of his debt. They're still complaining, saying how I moved too quickly and I should have given them time to grow enough funds to help their father get out of debt on their own. Edit. My uncle divorced when he was 35 and his oldest daughter was 15 or so, the younger 12. It wasn't entirely their fault that they stopped talking to him since their mother took them away. I guess it is their fault for not talking to him as adults, but I'm sure they had their reasons, or maybe their mother just poisoned them against him. I don't know. The fact of the matter is that they rekindled their relationship before they started using the beach house again. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.